Hello everybody, it's AJ back again with another monster video. I was tempted to put some water sloshing sounds in the background of this because it would be appropriate, but then I recalled very clearly that I did a video on caves and sewers a while back, and people heard the constant dripping of water and it made them want to pee. So yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. As you can guess, I'm going to be talking about the Marid, which is the genie of water, and they're described as the most wondrous of the genie kind. And they tend to have that opinion of themselves as well. They consider themselves superior to all the other genies, just in their nature and physical presence. They control water. They are aligned with water. Water is one of the most abundant materials in the universe. The elemental plane of water, or you could say the water-dominant area of the elemental chaos, constitutes a vast realm of water and flotillas of reefs and things like that. It's quite wondrous. If you look at the prime material plane, most of the realms are similar in their makeup to Earth and have large bodies of water. The Forgotten Realms has a similar arrangement of landmass to water, so the oceans are actually dominant on the planet. And in the early years, when the Dawn War happened in the Forgotten Realms, all of the life was actually in the oceans. There was no land life during that time. So the oceans were dominated by the aboleths, and there was titanic battles going on, where reality itself was being reshaped and things. And the age of blue, the blue age. So like all genies, they are what happens when a mortal soul combines itself with the element of water. And becomes a pseudo-elemental that is unrestricted. It is a combination of a once mortal soul and the primal force of water, the elemental power. And they have similar traits to elementals, and quite often a rocky relationship with elementals. Marids, like most genies, can summon elementals. It's one of their innate spellcasting powers. Now, I just wanted to point out that with the monster listings where creatures can innately cast spells, these are things that they can do by their nature, so they haven't studied these spells. This doesn't restrict them in any way from learning other spells. So these are things that they just have as a baseline. So they are created knowing how to do these things. Marids have the ability to cast other spells, and I fully encourage you to use whatever spell in the player's handbook you think is appropriate at the time. If it's relevant to the encounter or to the story that the Marid should be able to do a certain thing, give them that spell knowledge. These are immortal beings who have been around for thousands of years. They will have learned how to do these spells. Not only that, they'll have spell knowledge that other mortals do not have. So it's reasonable to say that a Marid can do a magical act that even Elminster doesn't know how to do. So their innate spellcasting is they can create and destroy water, they can create fog, they can water walk, they can cause water breathing in others, they can use the ability to conjure water elementals, control water, assume a gaseous form, and of course they can turn invisible, plane shift, they can speak in tongues, speak the tongues of other creatures or understand other creatures, detect good and evil at will, and detect magic at will. So they are innately magical. They are physically variant in appearance. They quite often look fishy. They may look like mer people. They may look like bullywugs or some other sort of regally attired fish-like being. But that's variable. They created their physical form and are creating their physical form constantly. It's non-material. Their actual physical essence is just energy, and combined with a little bit of water and foam. And when they die, that is what they turn back into, and their equipment and things just drop around them. They love to have amazing palaces, underwater cities, kind of like the Jar Jar Binks' people had. The Naboo homeworld has the Gungans. They have that amazing water city. That's a summer home for a Marid. And I think out of all of the genies, if I had to choose to be a slave of any genie kind, the Marid would probably be the one that I would most be comfortable being a slave of, because they don't really care what their slaves do. It's just the prestige of having them around. And they tend to, with their chaotic neutral alignment, care mainly about their own whims and things. They don't really, as long as the slaves aren't doing anything to bother them, it's just having them around as a prestige, as they're almost a display of their wealth and power. So the slaves are well treated. They're given everything that they need to survive and are left pretty much to their own devices. So you could be in a gorgeous palace with magical food replicators giving you everything you need, amazing, wondrous entertainers, some of the best people in the multiverse, just wandering around creating their own entertainment with no real demands on you other than the fact that you stay where you are, loyal to the Marid, and don't do anything against them. And every need is provided for you. So that's not a bad existence, really. It could be bad if they go up against an Ifriti or some other plot. The Ifriti don't like them, neither do the Tau particularly like them. They get on okay with the Jinn, but that's just, they have a sort of an elemental animosity against each other. They are egotistical. They claim titles of nobility, and they put on a lot of pretense. So they think that they're incredibly self-important. And I quite often make this Donald Trump reference, but there it is. They talk a lot about their own importance and things like that, and they won't tolerate anything which goes against that nature. So in that, they're much like other genies, in that you don't really want to talk them down or belittle them. You certainly don't want to control them unless you're absolutely certain that you can, because they will then make it their life's mission to free themselves and take revenge on anyone who tries to control them. To them, particularly as water-aligned genies, they hate being restricted. They smash barriers. They believe in freedom. And so even though they have slaves, they are not taskmasters of those slaves, and they don't micromanage every moment of their slaves' lives. So, they are often whimsical. They're great storytellers. They are they have very large personalities. They aren't always malicious. Their self-aggrandizement isn't always completely narcissistic. They may do things and lavish people with amazing wealth and incredible favors just because it makes them feel good and it makes them look good. They like to be well regarded. They're not so much focused on being respected out of fear. A Marid is quite happy with people respecting them because they are powerful, and so they will do things which display that power without it being destructive. So they take on the nourishing aspect of water, the life aspect of water. They respect the life and freedom of others. However, they come and go with the tides. They can be mercurial, they can be twisty, they can be hard to understand, they can occasionally be cold and aloof and have purposes that they have not revealed to others. They have hidden depths, right? So you see what I'm getting at. They're like water. So when you think about water, apply those to the personality of the Marid. Make them mysterious, make them deep, make them twisty, make them occasionally turbulent, and then calm and pleasant and generous. Have a bounty, but only under certain circumstances. And sometimes you just don't know. Yet you'll have people who are devoted to their service, much like a mariner who goes out to sea and the sea is his mistress, and you never know what the Marid is going to provide, but it can be absolutely wondrous and it can be terrifying. So, they don't necessarily like being worshipped as a god. They may put on the pretense occasionally, but they will quickly tire of it because they don't like being in service to anybody or having responsibility for everybody. They like being the well-regarded, aloof, powerful figure that has respect, so it gives them substance. But other than that, they are really just interested in their own life and freedom and go where their whims take them. So they like to have their places where they go back to for comfort, and if it's full of entertainment and wondrous things and people who are happy and pleasant, who have a sense of freedom and who have appreciation for the Marid for what they have given them, then that's what they enjoy. So, yeah, Marids can be very good NPCs who are relatively neutral. They're chaotic neutral. So if your interests align with the Marid, it can go very well for you. If you go up against them, they're not necessarily going to be malicious, but they are very powerful and they don't stand for anybody working against them. Any barriers that they have in front of them, they will blast through. Dams don't tend to hold them. So, yeah, that's the Marid for you. Hope that was brief but entertaining. Yeah, if you do run across a Marid which is granting wishes, they can be tricky, as is described in the book here. This little anecdote, which is, the Marid poured out of the flask like water and said, "Your wish is my command." The halfling, overjoyed, wished for immortality, so the Marid polymorphed him into a fish that flopped around humorously until finally it expired. It's a cautionary tale that was survived through the ages, so I suppose the halfling got his wish. This is from Kesto Bright Eyes, known proprietor of the Parted Veil, a bookshop in Sigil, the city of doors. So the lesson there is that the Marid has a sense of humour that is not very appreciative of the hubris of mortals. And I'd imagine if I'd lived for thousands and thousands of years with vast resources and magical power enough to move mountains, I wouldn't take too kindly to somebody making petty demands of my power either. So, yeah, just go into it carefully. And if you're role-playing as the Marid, as the DM, consider their attitude and consider each individual situation on its merits to the perspective of a powerful being, immortal, with vast power and all sorts of other fires cooking, other pots on other fires throughout the universe that are cooking. So it's not necessarily that interested in what's going on right here and now. It doesn't like being trapped by situations, by obligations, by demands of others. It sees itself as the most important. It sees itself as the star of the show at all times. So, yeah, like anything, they like having the creature comforts. They like having respect. They like having the freedom to come and go as they please. They're kind of like Q from Next Generation. So they've got this vast power, but quite an ego. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'll be back again with the last of the Genie kind, and also a discussion of some of the genies that are not in the 5th edition Monster Manual, including such creatures as the Kayal and the Jan and the Korash and the Tasked Genies. So, yeah, look forward to that. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you again soon.